Hi everyone, now we're going to start on a new segment of the reactivity series whereby we are no longer discussing the metals per se, but now we're going to be discussing the compounds of each metal. And believe it or not, the reactivity of the metals actually affects somewhat certain properties of their compounds. So let's talk about that relationship. The more reactive the metal, during their chemical reaction with other reactants, they will tend to give out more heat. That's why the chemical reaction is like producing a lot of heat. And the more heat it gives out during the chemical reaction, then the less heat or the less energy is left with the compound when it's formed. Make sense? So what the trend goes like is this. The more reactive the metal, the more stable its compounds. So as we travel down the reactivity series, the less reactive a metal is, then the less heat it produces during its chemical reaction, and hence its compounds will actually have higher energy content. Now, higher energy content where a compound is concerned just basically means that it is less stable. So this is how I usually request it of my students when we are talking with regards to reactivity series, right? When we are talking about the metals, we discuss their reactivity, how reactive they are, very reactive, less reactive, not reactive, like that. And then correspondingly, when we are talking about their compounds, we don't talk about the reactivity of their compounds. Compounds, you want to discuss them, the keyword should be stability, all right? So the more reactive the metal, the more stable its compound. The less reactive the metal, the less stable its compound. And that pattern follows through with almost no exceptions down the entire reactivity series. So, why is this so important? Well, when we are discussing the trends based on reactivity series, only the previous 3-4 videos talking about metals with burning with oxygen or in oxygen, metals with reacting with water, and metals reacting with acids, right? These are actually all discussing reactions of metals. So we discuss everything based on the reactivity of the metals. Now, the rest of this chapter will all be talking about what happens to the compounds of these different reactivity metals. So hence, our discussion now changes. Because now that we are discussing compounds, the things that we are discussing is actually about their relative stability. And relative, like comparing the stability of compounds from potassium, compare that with the stability of compounds of magnesium, and then all the way down to, let's say, compounds of copper, right? So always remember, more to more. More reactive metals form more stable compounds. Less to less reactive metals will also now form less stable compounds. All right? You can hit the like button if you understand what I've said, and I hope to see you at my channel more often, and then we can learn together.